Hey Exiles, PoE Academy here with 5 powerful League starters for the upcoming League. You know, nothing gets buffed or nerfed this patch, so yeah, you could simply pick any arch-nemesis starter. Or do you want to play something more interesting than EA Ballistas, Seismic Traps or Skeleton Mages? Well, if the answer is yes, then you have come to the right place, as this video features interesting builds that have proven themselves in 3.17 but weren't played a lot. Remember that all POBs and links to the original and more extensive guides wait in the description. Ready? Let's go! We are starting with a Shockwave Cyclone Champion. Cyclone without custom crit, you may ask? Yes, without custom crit. The build uses a two-hand staff called Hegemony's Era, which recently got a little bit more expensive during the first few days of a fresh league, but you may just use a 450 DPS rare staff instead until you can afford it. Champion provides a lot of tankiness, which gives room to use an Abyssus helmet. Even with this helmet, the build still has a respectable amount of EHP. Champion also enables more powerful impales, which contributes a lot to the 2 million damage the build reaches with average gear. The only mandatory items are rings with minus mana cost to channeling skills to be able to sustain Cyclone without a mana flask. Next up is a Chaos Animate weapon Necro. You want to farm simulacrums or other difficult encounters as soon as possible? Look no further, this build is as powerful as skeleton mages are. Animate weapon can reach absurd amounts of damage, and like with any summoner, you have a horde of minions acting as a meat shield. But to be honest, the character itself is already tanky enough. The written guide does a good job of explaining how to set up your Animate Guardian, your Spectres, going CI and everything else. If you know how to make 5 to 10x early league and want to farm aspirational content, definitely consider this one. And if you find this video helpful, you might also consider subscribing to my channel for more solid builds, step-by-step guides and all types of other PoE related stuff. The third build in this list is a Consecrated Path Totems Chieftain. This build is good at taking on bosses. In a nutshell, you want to stack as much strength as possible to maximize the added damage from Brutus-led Sprinkler, and therefore the usual suspects like Iron Fortress, Oberon's Warpath and Crown of the Ice come in very handy. The build also abuses ancestral totems like I have explained in another video of mine, and can easily reach up to 5 million DPS this way. But remember that this is a softcore build. It doesn't have to be that tanky though, since the totems deal damage while you can peacefully dodge stuff. I think the build looks very interesting, but keep in mind that comments on the guide recommend to level with Molten Strike and wait for the totem swap until you've acquired the Iron Fortress body armor. Still nothing interesting yet? Well, you might have to get used to the Spectral Helix playstyle then, since this skill is a powerhouse and will carry you on a shoestring budget through endgame. And even better, it lets you transition into other strong builds like Lightning Strike Raider or my Lightning Arrow Omniscience Deadeye later on. Why is it so strong? It uses the most broken mechanics currently available in the game and reaches 3 million damage with absolutely trash gear. But the build doesn't stop here. It also has above average defenses and therefore is decent for both less experienced players and the ones that want to push League Start as hard as possible. I will start with this build myself since I plan to transition into a Poison Lightning Strike Raider afterwards. What about you? I'm curious about what you plan to start 3.18 with, so drop a comment if you like. Last but not least, I wanted to share a build that I stumbled upon PoE Ninja. Although the footage in the background shows a similar build with a low life setup, it should give you a good idea on how the playstyle looks like. The life-based version, which I recommend, uses Wave of Conviction, which is notorious for its very high damage output. The regeneration from Inquisitor makes boss fights very forgiving, and the Elemental Pen is extremely strong early in the league. With 2 or 3 sources of +1 level 2 spell skill gems, you can easily hit 3 million DPS. Since Wave of Conviction has the fire, lightning and physical tech, this is very easy to achieve. The defensive layers of the build are quite impressive too. 50k EHP for physical and elemental damage, spell suppression cap, curse immunity and immunity to elemental ailments are rock solid. Also the build does not require a single unique. If I weren't starting the Elemental Helix build, I would pick this one. I also wanted to emphasize that you should be using Eldritch crafting no matter what build you are going to play. It will dramatically increase your progression, as you can quite economically craft best in slot items using this method. If you want to learn how this works or simply refresh your knowledge, check out my extensive Eldritch crafting guide, which is linked on the card on the top right or also down in the description. Thanks for staying with me until the end, happy hunting Exiles, and see you in the next one!